Let me ask you something, and really think about it. Every country on Earth is in debt, not some of them, all of them. The United States owes more than $38 trillion, the highest level in its history. Europe is buried under trillions more. Japan has been rolling debt for decades. Even countries people assume are safe, oil-rich nations like Saudi Arabia or export giants like Germany and China, all carry massive debt. So here's the question. Almost no one stops to ask, if everyone owes money, who exactly is getting paid? Because when you follow the trail, it doesn't lead to one country. It doesn't lead to China. It doesn't even lead to Wall Street. It leads back to the system itself. Debt isn't just a problem governments deal with. It's the structure holding the modern world together. Wars, recessions, pensions, currencies, all of them rest on promises that were never meant to be fully paid back. And once you understand this system, one uncomfortable truth becomes impossible to ignore. The global economy doesn't run on money. It runs on belief. And today, that belief is being tested. Every country on this planet owes money. There's no exception. The United States now carries over $38 trillion in debt. The European Union holds roughly $14 trillion. Japan is close to $9 trillion. Even nations that seem financially untouchable, oil producers, manufacturing powerhouses, global exporters, all owe enormous sums. So how did we end up here? How did the world reach a point where total global debt exceeds $315 trillion, nearly 3 times the size of the entire global economy? To answer that, we have to go back, long before credit cards, bank apps, or digital transfers existed. National debt didn't begin on Wall Street. It began on the battlefield. In 1694, England was fighting France and running out of gold. The crown needed money, and fast. So the king turned to wealthy merchants and made a deal. They would finance the war. In return, they would receive regular interest payments funded by future taxes. To manage this new arrangement, a new institution was created, the Bank of England. For the first time in history, a government could spend money it didn't yet have, and lenders received something powerful in return. A state-backed promise that could be traded, sold, and passed on. That promise became the first government bond. France copied the idea. The Netherlands refined it. The newly independent United States adopted it to fund its revolution and expand westward. Debt stopped being a sign of weakness. It became a sign of credibility. If a country could borrow, it could rule. Empires once conquered land to extract gold. Now they issued bonds to extract interest. The battlefield moved from the ground to the balance sheet. Fast forward to today, and debt has become the world's most traded product. Global borrowing increases by roughly $1 trillion every 100 days. Every government borrows, every bank lends, and every citizen, through taxes, savings, and pensions, plays both roles at the same time. So who actually holds all this debt? Let's look at the United States. Out of its $38 trillion in debt, about half is publicly held, meaning it's owned by investors, not other parts of the government. Roughly 2/3 of those investors are American institutions, banks, pension funds, insurance companies, mutual funds, and even the Federal Reserve itself. The remaining third, around $9 trillion, is held abroad. Japan holds the largest share, followed by China, then countries like the UK, Luxembourg, and Belgium. So when people say the US is in debt to China, that's technically true, but it represents only about 2% of the total. Most of America's debt is owed to Americans. Treasury bonds are issued. Banks and funds buy them. The Federal Reserve often buys them back, creating new dollars in the process. Taxes pay the interest. That interest flows into retirement accounts. It's a loop. And this loop isn't uniquely American. It's global. Japan lends to the US. The US lends to Europe through the IMF. Europe lends to developing nations through the World Bank. Those same developing nations park their reserves back into Western bonds. Everyone holds someone else's promise. It's like a table where every player borrowed chips from the next, and the game only works as long as no one stands up. Behind all of this sits the real power, the markets, pension funds, hedge funds, sovereign wealth funds, central banks. Together they manage tens of trillions of dollars, and they decide who gets cheap credit and who pays a premium just to survive. When confidence disappears, currencies collapse, governments fall. Entire economies can change overnight. Elections choose leaders. Markets decide outcomes. At the center of it all sits the modern central bank. Central banks don't just manage debt, they create it. Every time a central bank buys government bonds, new money enters the system. One balance sheet's liability becomes another's asset. That's why there is no such thing as debt-free money. Every bill, every coin, every digital balance exists because someone somewhere owes something. For decades, this system has survived on trust. As long as investors believe governments will keep paying interest, even if the debt is never fully repaid, the machine keeps running. But when trust breaks, the system shows its teeth. We've seen it in Greece, in Argentina, in Sri Lanka. When debt becomes unmanageable, creditors suddenly appear, the IMF, rating agencies, anonymous bondholders, and the cost is paid by ordinary people. And yet, after every collapse, the same process begins again. Old debt is replaced with new debt. Balances are restructured. The machine resets. Because modern government debt was never designed to be paid off. It was designed to be rolled over. Governments refinance old bonds with new ones. Interest becomes the product. Stability becomes the rent. That's why countries like the United States and Japan will never fully erase their debt, and why investors don't expect them to. Government bonds are the safest collateral in the world. If they disappeared, banks and markets would lose their foundation. Money would shrink. Deflation would spread. Paying off the debt would destroy the system built on it. So when politicians talk about eliminating the national debt, they're selling a story, not a plan. The real goal is simpler. Keep the debt manageable. Keep it believable. Keep confidence alive. Because once belief fades, numbers stop mattering. That's the real truth about global debt. The plan was never to pay it back. The plan was to keep the world believing it could be. If this gave you a new perspective, consider subscribing. History doesn't just explain the past, it shows us how the system really works.